Hi and welcome to episode 5 of my knitting podcast. If you've watched my videos before, welcome back. Nice to see you again, even though I don't actually see you. But it's nice that you're back. And if you're a new viewer, if you've never seen any of my videos before, I make knitting podcasts and I make other knitting related videos on this YouTube channel. If you're interested in my knitting podcast, I've made a playlist so you can watch all of them from the beginning. The first one isn't, the sound quality isn't that great, so I would say start with the second one. Then that's where it starts getting nicer, I think. Yeah, so welcome. I'm just it's evening. It's like 6:15 right now. I just came back from a day at the office and I feel full of energy to do this knitting podcast. So I'm kind of not super well prepared, but I felt like I had the energy to do it now. Yeah, so that's, I thought I would just start and maybe I'll do a second part in the, like I'll do it in 2 sittings, but we'll see how far I get. I want to start with what I'm wearing. I think I was wearing this one too in my first knitting podcast ever. This is the Rayé Vest. It's a design by Barcelos. It's I think she's from either Brazil or Argentina. And she's a very young designer, new designer, although I've tested this one for her a long time ago. I really enjoy this vest and I think it's perfect to wear to work. Yeah, I really enjoy it. I've made it in Hobbii Zafira. They had this, I think they made a dupe for the Drops Air, even though Drops Air is probably cheaper. But they made like a similar kind of yarn, but then they made it too thin, so it was supposed to be a Aran, maybe, or was supposed to be bulky, and it turned out to be like a heavy DK or something. So they had it, and I'm talking like a year and a half ago, they had it in like a how do you say that? Like they wanted to get rid of the skeins that they had left because it was wrong. I don't know how you call that. Also, I already had a whole full work day, so maybe I'm not the brightest right now. So excuse me if I get a little chaotic. By the way, my knitting is pretty chaotic at the moment. So I was thinking about calling this episode The Chaotic Life of a Maker because I feel all over the place with all my projects. Although I have so many whips, which is, I think it's fun to watch because yeah, then I have a lot to show. But it's getting a little like chaotic in my head. But soon I'll have a lot of finished objects, and that's the yeah, that would be nice at some point, but not yet. And I forgot my notes. Okay, 1 second. I got my notes so I can start. I know what I'm gonna talk about because it's always good to have it written down somewhere, so if I forget what I was talking about, yeah. So, but I was talking about this vest made in Hobbii Zafira in green tea and I think navy, and it's this really nice, it's kind of like marled, a little bit different colors, like the yarn is marled, if that makes sense, like and I think it holds up quite well, although there is a lot of pilling. I think it's good to talk about how well yarn is holding up, how well your projects are holding up. So the project is great. I think it's holding up really well. The neckline stays where it should be. Armholes are good size. Yeah. Oh shoot, I forgot another thing I want to show. Okay. Talking about armholes made me realize about one thing. My first kind of finished object, although it was already a finished object. I just adjusted it. Because remember this one? I showed it in my last podcast. And I didn't like the armhole size. So this is my Camisole number 3 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. And I've talked about this in my previous episode, that I wasn't happy with how big the armholes were. It was like completely showing my bra. So I wanted to adjust it, and I wanted to say it on here so I would have like something to hold me accountable. So what I did, I went back in and I cut out, or like I cut the cast off edge of the I-cord around the armhole, and instead of picking up every stitch, I picked up 2 for every 3 stitches, and now it's a much better armhole. Like it's like a lot more cinched in, but it's not cinched in at all. It's still pretty big, I think. So I can show you a picture. I asked my boyfriend to take a picture of me after I did one armhole, so you can really see how deep and how like far away from my arm it was before, and how much more snug it is right now. And when I'm wearing it now, it's even a little less because it stretches out again, but it's so much more wearable. So now I just have this like really nice vest, I guess. It's called the Camisole. It's one of the Camisole patterns, but I think it's like more like a vest style. But now I have it to wear because I wasn't wearing it before. So that's great. That's number 1. FO number 1. FO number 2. So to see chaos. To tell you what you're gonna see this episode, I had that FO, then I have 3 other FOs, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 whips. Chaos. See? Yeah, chaos. All right, we'll start with the FOs, so the finished objects, the things I finished in knitting. Okay, so first up, I forgot to show you this last time, but it's this scrunchie, and I have tested this pattern. It's a fairly simple pattern, but I've tested this for Becca of Knit Stitch Repeats. If you're on Instagram, you might have seen her. She makes a lot of patterns where you use the idea of like using different strands. Yeah, so I did 2 of them for her. I have a lot of acrylic yarn in stash, so yeah, I had a lot of yarn to like play around with. I like this side a lot more than this side, and I made another one and I gave that one to a friend of mine. Yeah, because I kind of thought of her, because Becca, she said that she did this because she has like a lot of hair and she never has a scrunchie that fits it really well. And that friend of mine also has a lot of hair, like very curly. So I thought of her, and then I thought, oh, it's nice to give it to her. So yeah, I'll put in a picture what they both look like. The other one was a little smaller. I'm usually the more eccentric friend. Yeah, so the one that I gave her is a little more toned down, although still pretty wild. But yeah, so that's my first thing I wanted to show you. Then, and you might have seen a video about this. The next FO you have probably seen in a video of mine. I put in a lot of effort in this video, so if you haven't checked it out, check it out. I've done a how I knit my toe-up socks without a pattern. I've done a video about this, and if you like chatty videos, there's like a little bit of chatting, a little bit of explanation, a little bit of just footage of me working on like things related to knitting. So like I was winding yarn and stuff, so please check it out. I also like incorporated a bunch of like transitions and animations and things, so it was a lot of fun to make. So yeah, please check it out and let me know what you think of that video, because I enjoyed making it. So if there's like people enjoy watching it, then I know I can do stuff like that more often. Although I should just do whatever I want to do, and it doesn't really matter. But I made these socks, and as you can see now, I've been wearing them a bunch because they are fitting perfectly. I love my socks snug. I'm gonna put them on right now because my feet are getting a little cold. Barefoot right now. And I'll see if I can show you a little bit. Let's see if I can do this. Here's my sock. There. I used ChaoGoo 2mm needles, and I cast it on. Well, I did toe up, so I started with the toes. You can follow for all the instructions, you can follow that video, but circumference is 64 stitches, and I did an afterthought heel, and I did a long leg. So basically that's what it is. I used for the contrast color, it's a Hobbii 4-ply sock yarn, and for the main color I used the VMCJ Knitwear hand dyed yarn. She's a Dutch yarn dyer, just like as a hobby, but I think she's like expanding a little bit, making it less of a hobby and more like a business. But I bought it through Instagram when she started a little more. So yeah, but I really enjoy this yarn. I really enjoyed working with it. It smells nice, that's always good. And yeah, I love the speckles in the socks. So yeah, if you want to knit a pair of like these too, then go check out my video to see how I do it. I try to make it a little less daunting is the word, I think. Like a little less scary to make socks, because I used to struggle with making socks. I used to struggle with getting them to fit right, because I was using 2.5mm needles and then 64 stitches around, but they were always too big. And that is just because I knit loosely. So that doesn't work. And a gauge watch for socks just feels like, why would you make a gauge watch for socks? Like your sock is the gauge watch, you know what I mean? Nothing against gauge watching, but I just mean like it's so much knitting for like a tiny project, and better do the project, and if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. Right? So yeah, now I figured out that I should use 2mm needles and that I like my socks snug and stuff. So I just want to show you how do I do it right now and what works for me, and maybe you can figure out with me what works for you. So that's kind of the reason I did that video. Yeah. another thing I made, because the weather has turned incredibly here. I don't know about what it's like for wherever you are. I would be really interested if it is this intense wherever you are in the world, because here in the Netherlands it had literally been summer, like summer, like hot, like not like a Dutch summer, but like a Mediterranean summer. It's what it felt like here for ages, like for 2 months, and then all of a sudden in 1 week it was like summer, then it was a week fall, and now it's just winter. Like this morning I was biking to my work and my hands were just freezing, and I saw all these people like wearing gloves on the bike, and I was like, wait, is it like winter jacket time already? Like I didn't have any time to wear my inter-seasonal jacket. Like I wore it today, but I was cold. So I guess it's winter jacket time straight away. It's crazy. So yeah, let me know what that's like where you are. I would be interested to figure that out this way. I thought it was kind of crazy that the weather changed like this. Like it went from hot to cold. Like just behind where you are is my balcony, and I can't sit on it in the summertime. I can only sit on it in the spring or in fall, because in winter it's cold. But I didn't have any like moment where I could sit on it, because it was just there was no inter-seasonal time. Yeah. Okay. A lot of random information. Yeah. Chaos. Oh, by the way, I hope you have something nice to drink too. It is tea weather again. Although I'm a strong believer if it's always tea weather, but I'm I've made this ginger lime tea. It's really nice. It's pretty strong, but it's really good. Okay, so I was cold. That's how I started this story. I was cold, my feet were cold, it was cold in our apartment, and I still had a bunch of yarn, or wool I should say, that I could felt. And I've been thinking about doing this for a long time, and I started freestyling. So I freestyled this slipper, 2 actually, made 2, and I like posted a bunch about this in my Instagram story. So I kind of wanted to finish them within the day, which I did. I posted the whole story, like the whole timeline. So I like cast it on and like showed all the things that I did. It was like huge slippers. So you knit these, okay, wow. I'm sorry if this is like hard to watch. I hope it's fun to watch. I hope you like chaos. Anyway, okay, so you basically knit a giant slipper. So just insanely big. Then the idea of felting is you throw it in the, and there's different ways you can felt, but this is one way. You throw them in the washing machine on like 40 degrees Celsius. So I guess that's like a warm cycle. You throw it in, you take them out, you see what they look like. If they haven't shrunken enough, then you put them in again until you like the shape. So as you can see, it's a pretty dense fabric, but when I just finished knitting it, it was like, now you can't tear it apart, like open the stitches up at all. But when it was just a normal piece of knitted fabric, and now it's like all like felted together. So at first I thought, I did them 2 times in the washing machine. And at first I thought they were maybe still too big, but I like the fit right now. And they're just so cute. So I was thinking of, I got a request from my boyfriend to make them for him too. And I still have more like dark blue, aqua colored felting wool for felting. So I wanted to make them for him, but then I thought maybe I should make a tutorial for them, because I got a lot of response on my Instagram stories of people asking me about how I did it. And then I thought, oh, I could either make a pattern or I could make a tutorial. So my question for you is, are you interested in a pattern for these? And I don't know if I would like make it a full like it's not that difficult, so I think I would not ask, maybe make it free, maybe make it like €1, so I don't know, that you get some recognition for it. So I was thinking to make either a pattern for it or a tutorial showing the steps, like making it a little less daunting, just like the socks, because it was really just super easy to make, and it feels like, whoa, I'm gonna felt, oh my god, I'm gonna felt it too much, and then I just have these tiny little like tiny little slippers all of a sudden, and that's not what you want, of course. So let me know, are you interested in a pattern, or are you interested in a tutorial, or are you not interested at all? Let me know that too if you're not. But I think this is a really functional like thing to know how to do. I was interrupted by the doorbell, but I think I said enough about the slippers, so let's move on to works in progress. So a lot has happened. That's the first thing. I showed you a bunch of things last time that were UFOs, like unfinished objects. Let's be clear about all the terms used here, so everybody feels included in like people talking about knitting. Yeah, about that, if you don't understand some things that I say, please let me know so I can be more well-spoken, or explain more about all the things that I'm saying, because I think when you are like in a certain world for a long time, you forget what you don't know when you first enter a world. So please let me know if you don't understand some things. I've had some questions about blocking, for example. I want to do that too, but I don't know if I have time today. But I will include that in this video, maybe a next video, maybe a separate video. Also, let me know if you want to know more about blocking, because I do know a little bit how it works and what different kinds of blocking there are. So you know who you are, who's watching this. But yeah, someone asked me about this. Anyway, so I showed a bunch of projects that have been lying around for a long time last time, so I've worked on one of those a lot, and you could have already seen it lying here. It is the cursed boyfriend sweater. So, as you maybe know, there's this myth that if you make a sweater for your partner, that you won't finish it before the relationship is over or something. So I want to break the curse. So I got pretty far. Wow, I think it looks pretty cool if I hold it up like this. You kind of forget what it looks like from afar, or like as a whole when you work on it. So this is not a pattern. It's my own pattern. What I did, I'm using 5.5mm needles. I casted on 200 stitches in the rounds, so it's bottom up. started doing ribbing, and then I did some color work, and then some stockinette, color work, split for the front, and I did some color work, some extra color work on the front, which was also purling color work, which is kind of intense. And then some stripes, and on the back the extra color work is also stripes. So yeah, it's a great way to show you right now, but I hope you get the idea. And maybe you think, wow, this is really big, it's probably not going to fit your boyfriend. It's also one of my concerns, but he is big. Like he's 2 meters tall. Well, yeah, and I always forget, to me he's a normal size, and then I realized that he needs like a triple XL for stuff. And I'm like, wait, but to me he's a medium, you know what I mean? Yeah. But anyway, if I make this, then I'm like, oh yeah, okay, he's really big. Yeah, so he tried it on and it's like really baggy, but the idea is that it's a drop shoulder, so it will come to like here somewhere, and then I knit the sleeves. I just like want to knit it together at the shoulder, pick up for neckbands, and the neckband is also going to be like this. Same idea. And then I want to pick up for the stitches for the arms. Do decreases along here, so it's like a nice kind of tapered men's sleeve, I guess. And also do some of the color work that's in the body. Do that on the sleeves too. Just pick out the ones that I like. And how I did the color work is just, I was just playing around with a Google spreadsheet. So I was just like putting colors everywhere, and I think there's a bunch of knitting, like, let me know if you know any platforms where you can do stuff like that. I think Stitch Fiddle, Stitch Knit Fit. Let me know which one I'm thinking of, because I don't remember. But it will be useful to do it in a different way, because I am just like copy C, copy V, copy C, like control V, control. You know what I'm talking about, I think. So I'm knitting this with Drops Alaska, and which is Drops yarn. It's 100% wool. It's really nice. It's not that scratchy. I remembered when I was making it before, I was like, oh no, that's going to be scratchy, but I don't think it will be on his skin. And yeah, I'm using 3 colorways of the Unicolor. So I think the cream, coral, and navy. And then I'm using one of the mix colorways. So Drops always has uni and mix in most of the yarns that they have. And the mix one is the gray, or like the misty ocean, you know, that one, the grayish blue one. So that was whip number 1. I've worked a lot on that. I think I'll finish the back part pretty quickly, and yeah, it will look more like a sweater next time. So then another colorwork sweater, you could have seen it back here, is my Alpenglow sweater. So I think last time I was around here, so I did a lot of that, a lot on the body, and I was working on it like really nicely, but then I had it on the couch here. This is my knitting couch. I was sitting down and I was like readjusting myself, and I always like to like sit in like cross-legged, have my feet up with me on the couch, and then I like put my foot down, and then I heard like snap, and I immediately knew what happened, because I've had this happen before. But I think I still have it here. Yeah, there. You can see it, I think. It snapped off. So I was like, oh no, this is like, I'm working on this so well. And so I went online immediately and I ordered new interchangeable needles, because these are my interchangeable Knit Pro Symphony needles. They're made from wood. And I just ordered new tips for the 3.5mm needles. And I also ordered some swivel cords. So I did 3 sizes, 40 centimeters, 120 and 80. And when I got them, I thought, oh, I should have done 100, another one of 100, because I think I used that one the most, and I only have one of those. But it's fine. It's not the end of the world. And I also ordered, and that was what I was knitting the boyfriend sweater with. Doesn't have a name, it's just the sweater for my boyfriend. Cubics. So these are the Knit Pro Cubics. So they're square, and I love these. So one time I needed a certain needle size. What is with me today? I guess it's just late. That's what it is. I needed a certain needle size, and I went to the yarn store in where I live. And that was 4.5mm needles, just a long time ago. And she only had the cubic, so I was like, oh yeah, why not? I'll just try it out. And then I loved them. And that was the one pair of needles that snapped before. And I think a similar thing happened then, but I don't really remember for sure. Yeah, so I got 2 cubics tips, so I can put them on the interchangeable needle set, and I can also use them with the swivel cable. So the idea of a swivel cable, oh my god, I didn't even say it, is that you can like swivel the needle and it's not like stuck to the cable. So if you have a normal cable and you have the needle attached here, then this doesn't move. So sometimes your work gets like this, and then you kind of have to like move it back. The swivel does that for you. So I like it. I've been using it since I got these needle tips. So, but yeah, my Alpenglow is going great. I am planning on doing 11 rows of or like times of the pattern repeat of the blocks. And as you can see, I got to a like more red orangey color of the. So if you want to know more about the yarns, look at my previous podcast. I talked about this a lot. I don't want to repeat too much because it will be not so interesting for the people who have been watching them. Yeah, so I got to the new bit of yarn that is more reddish orangey. So I think I need, it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So one more after this, and then it's already time for the ribbing. Because I saw that Andrea Mowry, it's the Alpenglow #1 by Andrea Mowry, which is a pattern that she recently released, and I'm in this knit along, which is making this sweater for Rhinebeck, which is a yarn festival in the US near New York, or in New York. And Andrea Mowry, she releases a sweater every year, I think, especially for Rhinebeck. And then people make the sweater and then show up at the festival. I'm not going to the festival, but I saw this sweater on Nitty Natty's podcast and I loved it immediately, and I was like, I want that sweater. So I joined. But I saw that Andrea Mowry did 10 times the like mosaic blocks, and I saw some pictures of people doing a little bit more. I want it a little bit longer, but not too much longer, so I'm doing 11. Woo! Wow, groundbreaking. Oh yeah, okay. So when my needle broke, I was a little sad. So what I started doing was working on the sweater for my boyfriend, but also I worked on something else. And the reason I started this was I went to the movies, and I like to do some stockinette when I'm going to the movies, like socks or something, but I already finished my socks. Because stockinette I can do without watching, and I don't have to pay attention to it, and then I can watch the movie and I still have my hands busy. It's really bad, but after a while, I just got here, I get really like, when I'm in the movies without I know, please let me know that I'm crazy and I should stop doing that, because maybe it's crazy, or if you do the same thing, show me your support. So I casted on a hat, and it's the Musselburgh hat. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not Scottish or wherever the name is from, but I think that's how you pronounce it. So I cast it on the like crown, and it was really quick. So if you want something stockinette and you want to do something, I am doing the size that is 5.5 stitches per inch. So the Musselburgh hat is a hat where you just cast on, then you see what your gauge is, so how many stitches you have per inch, and then you base your size on that, so how many stitches you'll increase towards. So the increase method is the same, but you increase towards a different amount of stitches in the round. Then you knit the entire thing, and you do crown decreases again. So then you have like a giant tube which is closed off at the ends, and the idea is that you put it inside out, and then you can put it on like a beanie. You can even like fold it up your brim, and then you'll have 4 times the fabric around your ears. So that's the idea. I just had this cotton merino left that I got from Hobbii. I used this to make the novice sweater. I'll see if I can put in a picture of the sweater that I made. I made it with all these different colors, and I had a lot of this black yarn left. And I'm planning, I also still have this one left. So same yarn, but then in lilac. And I'm planning to make like 1 stripe of this. So you can flip it inside out. So on one side you have a black beanie, and on the other side you have a black beanie with a lilac stripe. So that's that. And it works up incredibly quickly. So I'm using 4mm needles, and I'm doing not the largest size, but the one, or like not the largest, 5.5 stitches per inch, but I'm making a adult small, I think. Yeah. To add to the chaos, because do you think it's chaotic until now? Because if you do, bear with me. Then I signed up, or actually before all of this, just after my previous knitting podcast, I signed up for a test knit. I saw this picture, I'll put in a picture what I saw on Instagram, and I was like, that's amazing. So it's this sweater by Sari Nordlund, and it is called the Aurelia sweater. And the funny thing is, as a teenager, for some reason, I found the name Aurelia, and I thought it was a really pretty name, and I thought, if I ever have a daughter, that's how I'm gonna call her. So I saw this really pretty picture, then I saw that she called it the Aurelia Pullover, I think. And I thought, hey, they are talking to me, I think. And I also think it's a really nice way of learning a lot of new things. And I've tested for Sari Nordlund before. I did the Coton vest. So I knew that she always posts it on her Ravelry. So I kept an eye out on that. And then I was on time. I saw it on time and I signed up. And then I was chosen. So here it is. As you can see, I am working on the yoke, and it's not looking like I knit that much, but this is a lot of work. So yeah, you can see that there's just a lot of different things going on, and especially during this yoke, you have to keep watching the chart. So now I got to this point where at the sleeves you get a little more repeating. So you're just repeating the pattern and you do moss stitch on the sides. So it'll get a little easier to follow, I think. And yeah, soon I'll have that same thing at the front and the back, but not yet. So yeah, this pattern test is done, due I think October 13th, which is not that far from now. It's almost then, but I only have to do the yoke and one sleeve, and I think I'll be fine doing that, and I'll make sure I'm fine doing that. But it is a lot more work than I thought it would be, mostly because I like to do things while I knit. So I put on a movie or whatever, and I do all of that on my laptop, and now I need my laptop for the chart because I can't memorize it yet. So I think it will be fine when I get to a point where it's all like easier to memorize. Yeah, so, but I even made, this is my first time making baubles, so I'm getting the hang of it. And I think they look pretty cute. I thought at first, I was like, they kind of look like weird little blobs. But now that I made them, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cute. Like a little cherry or something. Like, I like it. The yarn that I'm using is this cone. Greasy cone, it's called. And I'll show you from close, so you can see the different colors. So this is a cone by JC Rennie, and I ordered from them because Knitting Traditions one time named them, and I thought, oh, that's so nice, I wanted cones. So I had 3 cones like this up there on a shelf that you can't see now, but they are there. And I hadn't done anything with them yet. And this one is really cool. It's like gray with a little bit of green, blue, purple, lilac, pink. It's called Ugie Pearl. And it's a greasy cone, and it is greasy. It smells like spinning oil. And I thought I wouldn't be bothered by it, but my hands, when I work with it. Hi. So we were losing daylight and I moved to here. Plus my phone was full. The storage on my phone was full, so I had to take those videos off. Then the daylight was almost gone. So I moved to here because here I think the light is better than if I turn on the light in the living room where I was sitting. There was just a couple of things more that I wanted to talk about. First, the greasiness of that yarn that I was using. So the greasy cones are really greasy. It is fine if you wash it, because I washed my swatch and it was fine. It didn't smell bad at all anymore, but working with it is not very pleasant. So that also is a thing that holds me back from working on that project, to be honest. Even if I see pictures on Instagram, people working on the Aurelia Pullover, I'm like, oh, so much work with the gross yarn. Like, the yarn is beautiful, don't get me wrong, but and then I realized, oh, that's just me. Like, that's not the pattern. That's my yarn that I'm using. So it's making the whole process a little more unpleasant. But I think you're supposed to wash it too before using it. And I think maybe it's not the healthiest thing what I'm doing. Yeah. Anyway, 2 more things I wanted to talk about. Well, sweater number 15. You saw it behind me the whole episode. I've just worked 1 cable. That's it. So not that much going on that one. But this one, oops, I have worked on this pretty much. I could put it on. Hope you can see it. The only thing missing is this end on this side, and I have the yarn for it. This is my own design. This is the Sky not pullover, Sky slipover. But it's so boxy. I'm using this acrylic yarn that I've left over. And I'm using 10mm needles. And yeah, I'm like, it is the idea that I had in my head. And I love the way it looks, but when I put it on, I'm like, eh. So, what do you think? I did like think a lot about how I wanted it, because I have this detail on the side. I hope you can see it all. And this V-neck is exactly how I wanted it to be. The dimensions are what I wanted it to be. When I put it on, I'm like, eh. Yeah, so maybe I should just finish it, but it also was kind of like disappointing when I finished this side, that I was like, okay, it's not 100% what I hoped it would be. And yeah, I'll talk about that one later, sometime later. And then the last one, and if you've watched a bunch of knitting podcasts, you might have seen this yarn before. But I got the Noro Kakigori yarn. I'm so happy with this. It's been on my radar for such a long time. So if you don't know Noro yarn, it's a Japanese company, and I think it got really big in the online knitting world. I don't know, in the like Instagram knitting world, I don't know, because it has been a big, huge yarn company before this. So don't get me wrong, I know that. Like, I know the world doesn't revolve around Petite Knit, but Petite Knit, she released the Terrazzo sweater. And the Terrazzo sweater is knitted in Noro, sock, solo, garden, silk, solo, something. And it's kind of similar to this. And I thought it was beautiful, and I've been thinking about buying that for a long time. And then I saw on this other knitting podcast, or like Tiffany's Yarn Corner, I saw the Noro Kakigori, which is this one, which is more of a summery yarn, because it has 50% cotton, 30% silk, 10% viscose, and 10% polyamide. And it is 200 grams, which is 600 meters. So I have 2 of them, so I have 1200 meters. And it's more of a summery yarn. And I thought that would be nice for, I just thought it would be nice. And actually, I heard Taylor from Pearl Jade talking about this yarn. and I saw a Dutch web shop. Well, it's actually like a local yarn shop, but it's not where I live, but in a different town. And I saw that they had this one and the other one of storage problems again. What I was saying, and I'll just keep it really short now. I'm doing a yarn swap with Taylor. I send her 2 of these and she's sending me some beautiful New Zealand yarn. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm super happy to finally have these. I'll share in a different podcast, the next one I think, some ideas that I have for this, because I really wanted to make the terrazzo sweater, but I have a lot of different ideas now, so I want to kind of like talk about all the different things that you can make with this, because it's such beautiful yarn and I want to make the right decision. So I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry for the chaotic episode. I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed it and that you got some knitting done. So please, if you want, you can like, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. It really helps. It shows the channel to more people if you do, and if you subscribe, then you can also see when I post new videos. So yeah, see you in my next video. Bye everybody.